everyone, I'm Sarah with Fisher Price Ranch. First off, please subscribe and hit that notification bell for updates on our next videos. So we are officially, 12 days out from our first doe that's due to kid, or our first two I should say. So we need to start prepping and getting ready for these babies. So we're going to go ahead and head out and we're going to start cleaning out the barns. We're going to put shavings in their barn, but we're also going to look over the does. We'll probably start with that and show you guys what we're going to start watching for on the girls. Also, our livestock guardian dog is getting closer as well. I think she's about between 3 and 5 weeks out. I don't know her exact due date. Like I said, we never saw them tie, but she's definitely getting fat, and we've had to change her feed up a little bit, so we'll talk about that as well. Alright, so I guess we can start off with Zara, our livestock guardian dog. So, like I've said before, this is our first time breeding a dog. When I was a kid, my mom used to raise AKC registered Cocker Spaniels, and I helped deliver 5 litters, but I wasn't really any part of the before. It was more the after. And so I've been doing a lot of reading. And I believe she is, well, if she's due between December 15th and the 24th, that would put her about 3 to 4 weeks until her due date-ish. And so, I believe, I'm trying to remember exactly, but I believe she's going into her second trimester, or is in her second trimester. And this is when we need to start upping the protein a little bit. And also because her belly is getting bigger, we need to space out her feeding. And so normally we would give them 1 big scoop of dog food in the evening. So now we're giving her meals. We split them in half, giving them twice a day. And as she increases in belly size, we will be giving her smaller meals throughout the day. So real quick, we'll go over her pen, shelter, not farrow, her birthing area. And we had wood shavings in here, but we've had a few people tell us that the puppies could choke on the shavings, so we changed it out. I just did a small bed for now. We're going to add it when we're closer to her having her puppies. But we did some hay, because I won't use straw. We've learned our lesson with straw, and it can carry mites and fleas, and we don't want to deal with that this year. So this morning I fed her. We cooked up some goat meat and all the fat and strips of stuff that we cut off of our meat we've been giving to Zara, and also the bone broth that came from when we cooked the meat and the bones. So we saved all that. I'll show that to you guys in just a minute, how we're feeding her. So now we're feeding her twice a day. But let's see if she'll let us see her belly. Will you lay down? Come on, lay down. Come on, lay down. Good girl. Alright, so if you guys saw the last video, you could see that her belly was kind of getting big, but now you can really see it. I mean, it's getting nice and chunky here. Also, around her nipples is getting more red compared to the last time that we saw them. And also they're getting bigger around. Whereas her nipples down here were quite small. Now they're definitely sticking out a lot more. So we're definitely getting further along in her pregnancy. Good girl. Alright, so I fed her this morning, and this is our first time feeding her in the morning. And now that I see how much she has left behind, we don't want to overfeed the dog and have the puppies get too big. So initially we did that much for this morning, and she left that much. So now, I guess before we go any further, I can see how much she's left in there. I'm going to dump that back in for a minute. This is how much we normally give her. And so it looks like we're going to have to start feeding her about that much per feeding. And so I'm just going to dump this in the scoop, and that's going to tell me about where I need to start filling it. So it looks like almost that first line in my scooper, just an inch below that. So now I know how much I need to feed her per feeding. because we only want to give her just enough that she wants to eat, and then whatever's left over we want to take away. Alright, so this is the bone broth and scraps of food that we have been keeping for Zara. Now there's a little bit of vegetables in here as well, but you could see all the jelly stuff is going to be from the bone broth, a little bit of fat, and then there's, if you ever made bone broth, when you let the broth sit, either overnight or whatever, you'll see all the little chunks of bone marrow and everything that sits in the bottom of your jar. And so that's some of what the red stuff is, if you guys can even see the color in here. So how much we're giving is roughly like this much. We're going to probably give just about half. And we're just up in the protein a little bit, giving her some extra nutrition. Now, like I said, I'm new to this, so this may not be what everybody would do. But I know my dog, and we just kind of go by what we've been feeding her and adding in just some extras. So that is now her meal for this evening. Alright, so now that we've kind of gone over what's going on with Zara and a little bit of changes that we're making during her pregnancy, I'm going to show you guys the goats. And we don't really do many changes for them, we don't really do any changes for them as far as during their pregnancy or any time of the year. Like I said before, the only change that we make in the winter is we'll give them a protein bucket just for that little bit of extra, but we don't give any grain or anything like that. So now we're at the point where we're going to start watching our girls for changes in the udder, watching their vulva, make sure we've never had the issue, knock on wood, but we watch their vulva to make sure there's no prolapsing going on, and just any overall sudden changes in the goat. So usually the week before we'll start watching the girls. They can go up to 5 to 10 days early as far as kidding goes. It'll make them a little premature if they're over 5 days early, but luckily we've only had that issue once, and that was, I believe, Capers last year due to getting rammed in the belly. So far she is she's 13 days out, 14 days out. She's exactly 2 weeks out from her kidding. And so far she's looking good. But let's go ahead and look over the girls and see how they're progressing. Alright, so here's Dippin' Dot, we still don't know what's going on with her. We are going to go ahead and do some pregnancy tests this Friday. Today's Monday, so we still got quite a few days before we draw blood. But we're definitely going to do some blood testing on 5 of our girls, just to see who's pregnant and who's not. And that'll also help us figure out what's going on with Coconut and see if she's going to hang around much longer. As far as our fat girls go, Trinidad, that's her daughter from last December. She produces amazing kids. But she's getting nice and fat. She typically has triplets. So we're kind of expecting that from her this year also. Truffles is one of our first ones due, and she is getting a nice udder. She's very fat. She's a first timer, so we always keep an eye on the first timers. We have so far only 2 first fresheners this year, but her mother, which is Beauty here, we call her Mama, she doesn't really have too much trouble kidding. I think she just likes to stress me out. But it looks like she's definitely going to have triplets this year. She had twins last year. Triplets the 2 years before that. So I would say definitely triplets this year, because she is quite large. Truffles, definitely at least twins, if not triplets. I've had first fresheners have triplets before. So here's 2 of our girls. Now, yesterday, Pinky here, she has a huge udder, but from heavy milking lines. This is our first time with her, but I was told she typically has triplets. But I could not feel her ligaments yesterday, which made me a little bit worried. However, she does have a lot of meat in her back end, and so they could just be a lot deeper than I'm used to. and she wasn't sunken in like I'm used to seeing when they're getting ready to deliver babies. So I wasn't too worried about her. She wasn't acting off or anything, but she is definitely one that I am going to keep an eye on. Goldie is a second freshener, first time with us, and I think she had twins last year. She has a pretty good sized belly. I don't really know what to expect with her. She could give triplets or twins. Twins are pretty common for goats. So, but she's getting a nice udder coming in. She milked a gallon a day as a first freshener, so I'm expecting at least 1.5 gallons or more from her. She is not a Kiko, she's our registered Alpine. So there's 4 of our pregnant girls. Well, 5, because we did talk about Trinidad for a moment there. So that's half of the ones that are due over the next few weeks. Oh, let's see, who else do we have? So Calliope is not due until January 3rd. She's quite big, also known to give triplets, but she still has like 5 weeks to go, so we're not going to watch her much at all yet. Sabrina is due. She, I think, typically has twins, and she's looking like a twin kidding this year as well. Her belly's not that big, but she is getting a good udder coming in. Bonnie, first year we had her, she had twins. Second year she had a single, and then last year had triplets. So we do not know what to expect with her. She does have a pretty good belly, so I would say at least twins on her. And then Tipsy is our other one that's the first one due. Are we talking about you? Huh? Yeah. You're a good girl. She is one that obviously is probably not going to get an udder up until actually kidding, because she is due in 12 days and has no signs of even starting an udder yet. If I didn't see babies kicking in her, I would almost worry that she was not pregnant, but she is definitely pregnant, and due December 5th. So her and Truffles are due the same day. But no udder. That's just the sagginess from when she's had kids before. So we're just going to keep an eye on her. Yeah, I guess she's going to be one that's not going to get an udder up until that point. And then last but not least is Capers. And she is due on the 7th. And I'm very excited. I'm really hoping that she goes full term this time. She has a massive udder already. If she would quit rubbing her butt. Yeah, she's got a pretty nice udder. We milked her last year as a first freshener, purebred Kiko, and she gave us 0.5 gallon a day. So this year we'll be pretty excited to see what she's going to give us. And hopefully live babies this time. Alright, well that's kind of what's going on with our girls at the moment. So now we're going to go ahead and get ready for these babies. Like I had said before, I don't typically get the barns ready up until about a week before. So I know we're still a little early, but I don't have nothing else to do. So we're going to get these barns cleaned out. It is so windy today, so maybe it's not the best day, but I think we'll just at least get them cleaned out. We'll wait to put the fresh shavings down until maybe next Monday, which should give us about just under a week before kids are due. I think it's like 4 days early, but at least they'll be nice and fresh for when the girls kid. To give you guys a quick idea, when I cleaned all the shavings out of Zara's area, I went ahead and had this one already cleaned out, and we put the shavings in here just yesterday, and you can already see all the poop in here. They're peeing in here. So this is a good example of why I don't like to get these cleaned out and ready too soon, or I should say too early before the kids are due, because they're just going to ruin all this sawdust, and we're going to have to clean it all out again before the babies are due. Alright, so one thing that we do, since the girls are getting close to kidding, is we now opened up this pasture so they can get used to this area again, and it also has access to our large barn up here. So we want them to kind of get used to their new area where they're gonna kid, and it gives them more shelters. So we have the one shelter over there. They also have access to a third feeder in here and a shelter also in here. So some of our goats that feel like they're lower totem pole will actually come over here and they're not bothered. So they have less fighting going on, I guess I should say, as far as the food goes. And then there's also an extra water bowl over here. So that's 2 shelters, and then this big barn is an 8x16. And sorry about the sun. There we go. It's an 8x16, and we put in a wall, so it's kind of a split, and they can use both sides, and we just keep that door closed. So usually what we'll do is with this door, and because the wind typically comes from kind of this direction, and it would kind of blow right into there, is we have that brick. And what we'll do is I have the door tied open, but we'll have the door closed enough that the girls can go in and out, but the door will not be wide open for the wind to get in, so it'll help block the wind quite a bit. So this is the one we got to clean out. I only clean out this barn probably twice a year. We fill it full of sawdust or wasted hay, and they don't typically pee much in here. So it's a pretty easy cleanup. We can almost sweep it, or just come in with our snow shovel and just scoop it right up. So it'll definitely clean up easy. And we'll just have this ready so that way all we have to do is throw sawdust down. Alright, so when working with a bunch of dusty stuff, we definitely want to make sure that we are opening up our as much windows and doors as we can, so we have enough airflow that we're not choking on anything. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this door. We have our little latch here that we put it down into that hole. It holds it open. But that way we have a door open on both sides. So as you can see, it cleans up fairly easy. So this whole side is already done. So this side, what we're going to do with all of our manure and wasted hay is we're just going to spread it in the pasture. And that's just going to help feed the grass that they have. Alright, well, we're officially cleaned out. Back to our wood floor. And now it's ready for shavings, which I'll put down next Monday. Alright, you guys, well, I hope this was helpful. And also, one quick update. As far as that whole TV show thing, we had to take Peppermint out of it. Unfortunately, she slightly re-injured her leg. She's walking on it better today, but I think it's going to be an issue for her. So we've had Savannah take her place, and so if you guys want to stay tuned, I'll show you some pictures and video of her on the new playground. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.